So welcome. Thanks for joining. And I just want to start off by introducing myself. My name is Jeff Heggie. I'm a business development coach and co-founder and CEO of Kodiak Mountain Stone, a company that I started back in 2005 and still running and operating. And just want to talk a little bit about what I'm doing and why I'm putting this together. This is actually the second one that I've put together, and it's just with a lot of the people I've talked to from the business coaching side of things. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on right now with this coronavirus and, being quarantined and everything like that. And so I think it's just an opportunity to really talk about some of the things that we can be doing within our businesses to really maximize our marketing efforts. Because I think, you look at anything in history, we have a disruption like this, and there's always opportunities that come out of it. And I've talked for a while now that I really think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities that come out of this. There's going to be a lot of changes. It's going to be a new norm. It's going to be very different than what we're used to. But I think it's the people that are really prepared that are going to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. I like to look at it, compare it to the example of the grocery stores. You look at Costco and you've got to wait in line to get into Costco. And then a lot of times you're getting in there and the shelves were empty. And I really think that's what's going to happen when we come out of this is everyone's going to be trying to jump back on, get their businesses going again. And it's the people that have been doing the things that have got them prepared that are going to be at the front of the lines. And there's going to be a lot of people at the back of the lines that get there and the shelves are empty. So my hope is that I can give some valuable tools that can help people in their marketing and hopefully some things that can be implemented right away. So that's really what I'm looking at doing, is providing some actionable strategies that we want you to be able to implement right away to increase your leads, increase your conversions, and of course, grow your revenues and profits. So everyone that signed up, you should have had a booklet emailed to you. And it just kind of goes through some of the topics we're going to talk about. And number one, I've got goal setting at the front, but we're actually going to leave that to the end. But on each of these topics, at the top of the page, you'll see that it has a 1 to 10 mark for relevance to your business, and then your level of proficiency in that topic. And so that's just an opportunity for each topic that I go through to look at it and see if it is something that's relevant to your business and where you're at, if it's something you need to increase your proficiency or if you're good or whatever it is. So today I kind of want to look at developing a roadmap to help us get through these marketing results. Now, I'm sure everybody's heard about the 80-20 rule before. And the way I look at it with marketing is that 20% of what you do every day is producing about 80% of the results that you're getting from your marketing in your business. And really it's a very small amount of things that you're doing that are getting the most results. And so when I do that, there's 5 areas that I look at that we try to work on that make up that 20%. And that is the more leads, more conversions, more transactions, higher prices, and more profits. And so when we can make small incremental changes in each of those areas, we can really produce some big results. And obviously when you're working on stuff like that, it doesn't necessarily come across exactly, say, 10% on each of these items. But that's what I'm going to show you here, that how a little bit, and I'm going to use 10% as an example, just small changes like that can end up being big results for you. So, if I was working with you one-on-one, what I'd do is get you to kind of give me some of your exact numbers and we could put into this profit growth calculator. But what I want you to do is just kind of think of the numbers you have in your business and how it would equate to what you're doing. So with the company, just make believe company, we'll just use 1,000 leads as an example, and they have a conversion rate of 25%. And from that, we'll use 10 transactions per customer, a price of $100, which were revenues of $250,000, and a gross profit of 25%. So in this example, that gives you gross profits of 62,500. And so what I want to do is show you what will happen just by increasing each of these areas by 10%. So if we increase the more leads by 10% up to 1,100, the conversion rate from 25 to 27.5, that increases our sales to 303. Now transactions, we jump that up to 11, higher prices to 110. That jumps our revenue up to 366,000. And then profit margins, we go by 10% there as well. And what that's showing you is just those little bit of increases can bring you from a $62,000 gross profit up to over 100,000. So the next thing I want to show you is how you can actually make that quite significant just by going up 50%. So if we increase each area, same thing by 50%, what it's going to do is take us from the 62,500 gross profit to almost 500,000. And so that's the area I want to look at for a little bit here. And what I'm going to do today is go through those 5 different areas and use some case studies that we've worked with clients to show you how a lot of these are going to impact these different areas. So when we look at 50%, obviously that can really transform your business, but 50% is quite a big number. But what I'm going to do is in these case studies, I'm going to show you that 50% really is doable. And actually a lot of these case studies do a lot more than 50%. So looking at these, let's start with the more leads. So I want you, it's hard, it's a little different as we're working with multiple people on this call, but I want you to think of your own company. How do you currently generate your leads? And what are the different ways that you can look at doing to increase those? And a lot of people that I talk to, their leads are generated through referrals, and referrals are a great source, obviously. But the problem with that is you never know when they're going to be coming in. They're not reliable, and certainly you can't generate them when you want to. A lot of other people, well, you look at pretty much any business today, and everybody has a website. And the more and more people I work with, the websites are such a powerful tool, but so many people, they've got their website, they've put a bunch of money into it, but they probably haven't even looked at their own website for 5-6 years. And the hard part about websites are most people that I work with can't tell me how many leads are generated through their websites, how many sales are because of their website, those sort of things. And so that's something we'll go through today as well, is how you can make things work for you so that you are understanding what leads are coming through your website and how you're generating the conversions and sales that way. So what I want to look at, a few of the things is, first of all, the fundamentals of marketing, just an overview of that. So over the years, studies have been conducted on what determines successful marketing campaigns. Obviously, a lot of people will say, well, if you're getting more sales, that's obviously a successful marketing campaign. And that's what a lot of campaigns are designed for. But then there's also a lot of companies, the big brand companies, that they're just looking for brand awareness or sometimes even damage control. So it's easy to get some of these things wrong, but the fundamentals of marketing, every business, is that there's certain formulas that you can follow that will really have a big impact. And so number one is you've got to have something good to say, and which is what we'll refer to as your market dominating position. And then compelling marketing is saying it well. And then the last part is saying it often, or repetition. If you know who Dan Kennedy is, he's a marketing guru, has some great theories and ideas and stuff. And what he really looks at is you've got to have a market, you've got to have a message, and you've got to have media and how you're going to get it out there. And so those concepts, we're all going to tie those in together as we look at what I consider to be the secret of marketing, and a formula that I use to help my customers dominate in their industries. And so number one, your marketing has to enter the conversation taking place in the head of your prospects. And this is something I got from Dan Kennedy, and that's something he really pushes, that, for your marketing to be effective, it has to be very applicable to what your customers are looking at. So it revolves around two things. One, there's a problem that your prospect has and doesn't want. And two, there's a result your prospect wants and doesn't have. And so as I use this formula to generate our different campaigns and whatnot, we call it the conversion equation formula. And what that is interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. And so whether it's a TV advertisement, website, brochure, whatever it is, we look at this conversion equation as something we want to implement in everything we do. So in the formula, the interrupt is your headline. It's the headline of whether it's your website or any of those others that we were talking about. And it has to address the problem that your prospect has, but they don't want. Now, the engage is your subheadline, and it has to promise the results that the prospects want, but don't have. When we go on to the educate part, that's when you're going to give them the information on what's unique about your product, something that your competition doesn't have, your market dominating position, as we referred to it earlier. And then your offer is your compelling offer, that whatever it is that you're offering that makes it irresistible as you put everything together on this. With the first part of what we talked about, the say it often, is the repetition of marketing. That's a key success in marketing, and you want to get it out to your customers as much as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some different case studies, and as we go through the different areas, I'm going to use the same case studies kind of over and over to show how we implement them in different areas. And what I'm hoping is that each of you can look at it and say, okay, if this was my business, this is how it would be more applicable to me. And anyone on the call, if you have any questions or anything you want to comment, just go ahead and take yourself off mute, and we can talk about it. Or I'm always happy afterwards also to talk with anyone and hear your thoughts or ideas and give you any feedback. So with the first case study, it was a plastic surgeon that we were working with, and he specialized in what he called mommy makeovers. And what he was doing pay-per-click Facebook ads, and he was generating 35 leads a month. And I want to show you what he was using as his advertisement. So if you can see on the screen, this picture, he was focused on mommy makeovers, and his ad said, nurture the body that will provoke true envy. And so as you look at that, who his target customers were, it wasn't really the message in that advertisement that would be taking place in the head of his prospects. And so again, looking at Dan Kennedy's market, message, and media, we took a look at that. The market he was looking at were women 30 to 45 with 2 or more kids. And so we changed the message with this ad and said, do you want the body you had before you had kids? Now, I think you'll agree that for a mommy makeover, I'm going to go back to that last slide. This advertising compared to this picture is a lot different. And this is going to be a lot more applicable to who his target market was. And then when we look at media, he continued with the Facebook ads, and he was also doing direct mail and radio and TV. So the results, he was generating between 315 leads per month, which was an increase of over 1,100% from what he was doing before that. And a lot of that came strictly from changing the messaging, changing the picture. And so, and again, going back to what we were talking about at the beginning, some of these things you can do a little tweak like that, and you're going to get a lot more than a 50% increase. So just using that as an example. Now, again, another case study, we worked with a chiropractor, and he specialized with fibromyalgia diagnosis. He was running newspaper flyers and getting 3 leads per month. And here's an ad that we were using. And what we did, looked at his target market. He was women 18 to 85 with massive pain through their body. And what we did with him is we changed, and we're going to talk about this more as we get into this, but we changed from just giving them tactical marketing to giving them information. And so the message was, if you're misdiagnosed, you're suffering needlessly. But then we offered them a free report. And as we get into some of the information on websites, I'll explain the importance of offering something like a free report. And then he had the different media that he was going through. But what happened was he generated 137 leads in 4 days. And what that was, before he was getting the 3 leads per month. And so that's a 4,500% increase in leads. Now, this is one that we'll get into more detail as well as we go on, but this was a really interesting one. But it was a daycare, and they mailed out postcards to everyone in a 5-mile radius of where their daycare was, and they got 0 calls from that. So what they specialized in was actually educating children. And so when we changed their message, first of all, we looked at their market, and it was parents with kids that wanted to be educated. And the message that they gave was that we guarantee your child will be reading at a 1st grade level before they enter kindergarten. And, for a parent that wants their child educated, obviously that's going to be something that gains their attention. It's something that you can be thinking of, that sort of message in your area of expertise. But what I'm going to show you is what we actually did with them. So if you take a look at their ad, there's a few things that really stand out that worked really well. The interrupt is the headline. Is your daycare's idea of a good educational curriculum watching Barney on TV? So that's going to grab attention of the parents. And then the engage is, how would you like your child to be reading at a 1st grade level before starting kindergarten? And then the other part is the picture that they used. So when you put those 3 things together, it's definitely going to grab the attention of those parents. And then, as you can see on the right-hand side, they had other things like, we have a 22-station Dell computer lab, and really focused on what they were going to do with these kids to add the educational component. So the results of it was awesome. They generated 58 leads in the first week and had to stop running the ad because they filled up the space within that first week. And again, I'm sorry, I am going to go through this really quickly so we can get everything in within the hour time frame. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. But also, I'm always open afterwards that we can talk and answer any questions then. But in your workbook, if we look at the leads section, the secret to generating more leads is the market message and media. And so take a look at it, and how is your relevancy and proficiency in these areas, and how does it compare for your company? Now, the second area I want to look at is the conversions. And there's a couple things that I want to focus on. One is downselling, which is you offer a prospect an alternative at a lower price when they decline your original offer. And the other one, and this is actually one that I love, that we use a lot on websites, but I'm not going to go into detail here. But if you do want any more information, I'd love to talk to you more about it. But drip campaigns, whether it's through email, regular mail, or whatever, drip campaigns are really an effective tool to use. But what we're going to focus on here is we're going to start looking at some websites and talk about why some of them have some problems. So number one, the secret to converting more leads is to create a compelling offer. Now, I want to show you some websites that you'll recognize that the majority of websites you see are like this. So you look at a website, and this one we've got on the screen, what is the offer? Really, it's no different than a Yellow Pages ad. It's got phone number, get your free retirement consultation, phone number in another place, and a contact section that you can fill out. Looking at the chiropractor, it's exactly what they had as well. Right in the middle, phone number, and that was it. So there's a lot of things we can go into talking about this on why we can't measure how many leads we're getting and how many conversions we're getting from a website. But what I want to talk to on this point right now is what we call the buyer's journey. So when someone starts to consider buying something, there's a point where we call it the future buyers, where they're looking at the benefits of ownership and why they should buy. And as they go down the path, it's the soon to be buyers, and they're looking at, objections to ownership and maybe why they shouldn't buy. And then the now buyers are the ones that are ready to buy right now. Problem is that the now buyers are usually 1% of buyers or less. And so if you have someone coming to your website and they're not a now buyer, they're going to leave, and that's the end of it. You don't know they've been there. You don't have anywhere to continue to market to them or anything like that. And so that's really where we have some problems. But most of them, what they're doing is they're coming to your website for information. And that's when I talked earlier about that one offer with the fibromyalgia that we offered an information package. That's where we'll get into more of this. So let's look at Cosmetic Surgeon. Again, their website was, free consultation, phone numbers, address. Another one, request your consultation, phone numbers. So when you're looking at that, you're looking at tactical marketing. You're trying to sell right now to a now buyer. And really, there are times that you do look at this type of marketing. Pizza, you offer a coupon or whatever it is for pizza. That's what we refer to as common purchases. Emergency situations, if it's the middle of winter, middle of the night, and your furnace goes out, you're not going to go through the buyer's journey. You're going to call someone and get your furnace fixed right away. And then impulse purchases, a lot of times those are infomercials or something like that. But if we go back to the Cosmetic Surgeon with the mommy makeovers, they were getting 35 leads a month to begin with from their Facebook ads, but their conversion rate was 0. All right. So and again, looking at their website, they weren't offering any information. They're offering the phone number, a virtual consultation. What we did was we changed their website to what we refer to as a squeeze page, which just a quick overview of a squeeze page. It's a one-page website basically that doesn't have a lot of options to click out of. This is your information and that's it. That's available there. But on there, what we did is we changed it, had the message that we've talked about, and offered an informational product. So with the title, it was, I want the body I had before I had kids. And so that's going to grab the attention of the target market they're looking at. And the subheadline was, time to get rid of the problem areas on your hips, thighs, and tummy. And so this is exactly what we're talking about on trying to grab the attention of your target clients. And then the next part, instead of saying, contact me or call for a free consultation, which everyone knows is going to be a sales pitch, it's give us your first name and email address, and we're going to give you this free report, candid answers about mommy makeover surgeries. And so that's something that's you're going to have a lot more people that are willing to get this free report than are going to actually make a phone call and call in and have a conversation with you. So with this, we offered the free report like I was mentioning, there's what are the risks, what are the benefits, will it look natural, any questions that someone might have, you can offer that in the free report and they don't have to feel uncomfortable making a phone call. And so the results, previously I mentioned their conversion rate was 0. With this, the report conversion rate, they got 67% of the people coming there requesting the report. And I would definitely show you that if my computer would keep going. There we go. And then from that report, they were able to convert 8% of those. Well, with a Cosmetic Surgeon, that's pretty significant. So his ad was generating 300 to 500 prospects per month. 67% conversion rate was 268 new leads. 8% of those were converted, which meant 32 new patients, which was approximately $600,000 in monthly revenue. So it was huge conversion and turnaround for him from generating 0 leads out of his original ad. Now looking at the chiropractor, again, looking at the website, just request an appointment, schedule an appointment, phone numbers, those sort of things. We changed same thing to having a different headline, different subheadline, and then offering the free report. So the free report was the secret to total and complete fibromyalgia relief. The results of this were the TV ads were generating 137 leads in 4 days. The report converted 37 patients for $2,500 each, which was a total revenue of over $92,000. Then in the case study with the Daycare, again, website with just the phone number and address, changed it to more focused on the educational part like we had talked about, offering Little Harvard, the only South Lake daycare facility designed and equipped for accelerated children. The result, as I had mentioned earlier, they got 158 leads in the first week. 47 of them ended up applying for the 18 openings that they had. And of that, as I mentioned earlier, they had to stop running the ad because they filled it up that first week. So again, looking at the buyer's journey from the future buyers to the soon-to-be buyers to the now buyers, you can look at where those customers are on that journey. And the ones that aren't the future are the future buyers or the soon-to-be buyers, by offering that information product, you're going to be able to keep them within your system, and you're still going to be able to market to them throughout for however long you want, unless they unsubscribe or whatever you're doing it, if you're doing it through email. But you're still going to have the possibility to be talking to them. Now, when we look at that, you can see, the increases of 10% or the increases of 50%, how it can really transform your business. So looking at this part, the secret to converting leads is creating a compelling offer. And so again, look at it, how it's relevant in your business and how your proficiency currently is. Now in the next section, looking at transactions, increasing transactions with the prospect involves getting them to buy from you more frequently than they do now. Obviously different businesses, it's going to work differently. My company, Kodiak Mountain Stone, it's usually new houses that they buy stone for, and we're not going to get a lot of repeat buyers that way because you don't buy multiple houses or build multiple houses in a year. But some companies, some businesses, you'll have multiple opportunities to sell to the same client throughout the year. So our focus on this one is going to be upselling and cross-selling, and then offer more products or services. And an example of that, again, with Kodiak Mountain Stone, when we started, we were a manufacturer strictly. We ended up down the road, we opened some of our own stores, and we brought in other products and services so that as people came in, we had more than just our one product line that we were manufacturing to offer them. So with upselling and cross-selling, upselling, you've seen it all the time at McDonald's. Would you like to supersize that? And so it's offering to upsize, do something, add more to it, and obviously generating more income for you. Now on the cross-selling, what that means is that you're going to offer other products or service that complement the existing item. And I did see recently a report that's saying about 34% will buy the additional product or service if they are asked. Now, the other part that I wanted to point out, it's also the order that you look at doing things when you're doing the cross-selling makes a big difference. I was trying to think of some stories that could fit with this, and I thought of one. It was quite a while back. I was getting a new suit at Harry Rosen up in Canada, and when I got the suit, I'd bought the suit, and before I left, I had also bought a tie, Burberry tie, Burberry cufflinks, Hugo Boss shoes, and Hugo Boss socks. If I would have gone in any of those items individually before seeing the suit, they were probably more than I would have wanted to pay. But starting with the suit is a lot more expensive item. And when we went on to the other products, they were quite insignificant compared to the price of the suit and easier to justify. And so that's something to think about as you teach your staff to do the cross-selling. It's important the order that you look at doing the cross-selling as well. You start with selling them the higher price items and then moving down to the lower ones as you're cross-selling. So an example that I want to share is with auto services. A lot of times you'll see examples where they're offering free oil changes or something like that, or discounted even. And the reason being is, any of you that have been in and got your oil change, you're going to get cross sold. They're going to have different things that they're going to offer you, filters, different things. But that's what this company we worked with was doing. They were offering the free services so that they could get in front of the customers and offer the additional products and services where they made more profits on them. Another example of someone we worked with was a dentist, where they offered the basic dental services like exams and teeth cleaning, but where they made their good money was on the other things such as the cosmetic services, the fillings, the braces, and those sort of things. And so what we did with them, we looked at some of the reasons people leave their dentists, and 85% of people in our study showed that they have medical insurance, but less than 50% actually had dental insurance. And among those without the dental insurance, 44% said that was the reason they didn't visit the dentist very often. And so what we ended up doing is looking at an opportunity for the dentist to focus on those that didn't have the insurance. And what he did was he advertised that they could come in without paying the expensive monthly premiums of having insurance and using the same amount as the copays to get the services done. So what he did was he offered routine exams and cleanings for $25, which was at the time the normal copay with insurance, and to cover those. And then what he did after that was he would look at upselling the additional services that they needed, such as fillings, crowns, dentures, braces, whatever it was. So it's just similar to what the oil change was doing. So again, in your booklet, if you look at that, for increasing transactions, it's implement an upsell and cross-sell strategy. Now, higher prices. This is actually one that I really like working with clients on, because a lot of times it's an aha moment for some of the business clients that I work with, because the mental part of prices and the reality of it is actually usually fairly different. And so with prices, the key is obviously adding value. And one way to do that is through bundling. And what is valuable is when you can take something and get away from apples to apples comparison. When you can create an apples to oranges comparison, then you can focus on value and not pricing. The biggest mistake that I see business owners making is that they only focus on the pricing aspect with their customers. And in reality, most have to, because that's the only differentiation that they make for the customers to look at, because everyone's doing the same thing. And the only thing that differentiates between the two businesses is the price. So, for example, let's look at, you walk into a grocery store and there's 2 tables full of apples, and they're all priced 50 cents on one table and $1 on the other, but they're the exact same. Well, you're obviously going to go with the 50 cents apples. So how do you make a difference there? If the ones with $1 above it say organic, that makes them different. And, some people are going to say, well, I want the organic apples, and they're going to buy those ones. So you've got to look at things like that take away from everything that's the same, and the only thing that differentiates is the price. So I want to use a sunroom company as an example that we worked with. And typically, I don't know if any of you have. I've never bought a sunroom in my life. And so I don't know a lot about sunrooms. I don't know the difference from one company to the next. You look at referrals, you look at pricing, all those different things. Well, most sunroom companies that we looked at when we started working with one, the biggest thing they would do is they'd offer a big discount. So one of the competitors was offering $2,000 off their sunroom. What we did with the company we were looking at, they offered a $6,200 bonus package with theirs. And how that worked for them was they went to a wholesaler and taking a step back, with the $6,200 bonus package, it included complete furnishing for the sunroom. Sofa, love seat, chair, ottoman, 2 end tables, and coffee table. How they did this was they went to a wholesaler, a furniture supplier, and they agreed to buy a certain amount of furniture throughout the year. And so they got it at a wholesale price. And they could buy it at $1,600 a set, which was a $6,200 retail value. And so when you compare the two, one company was offering $2,000 off. Our company was offering a $6,200 bonus package, which looks like a lot more, but it was actually only costing them $1,600. So they weren't offering the $200 off. They were actually $400 ahead. And so again, you're creating a situation where you're not comparing apples to apples. So the secret to higher prices is implement a bundling strategy. Now, more profits. So there's 2 ways to increase your overall profitability, and it's to increase revenue or decrease the cost of doing business. So option 1, increasing revenue. How do you do that? You raise prices. And that's one area that I always get pushback on, but I'm going to show you why it's such a good idea. And option 2 is decrease the cost of doing business, cutting labor costs, cutting whatever it is. So looking at raising your prices. So often I'll ask my clients, when was the last time you raised your prices? And usually it's been a long time, or sometimes it's been never. And they're scared because a price increase, they're expecting customers to leave. And so I want to show you in this example why increasing pricing can be a very good strategy. Now, of course, it's not something that you just want to go say, okay, I was on this webinar, I'm going to go increase my prices 20% because it worked good in the case study. You've obviously got to do your research. You've got to do the right things to make it work out right. But hopefully with this case study, you'll see how the numbers work. So let's say you're selling a product for $100 each and your margin's 30%. You increase the price by 10%. That means you're going to be selling it for $110. So small increase like that, are you really going to lose a lot of your customers? You probably will lose some. And a lot of times those are the ones that are the ones with no loyalty to begin with, or the hardest ones to deal with, but you probably will lose some. But when we look at it, when you look at making that increase, you're making an additional $10, all of which is profit. So that's a 33% increase to your profit. So if you're looking at a business and you're making $1,000 in profit, selling it for $100 each, that means you're selling 33.3 products. When you increase the price by 10%, to make that same $1,000, you need to sell 25 of your widgets or whatever your product is. So that means just to break even to where you were before you made the increase, you went from selling 33 to 25 just to break even, meaning you would have to lose 25% of your customers over a 10% increase, and that's not going to happen. So, and as I mentioned at the beginning, of course, you want to err on the side of caution and test your increases and whatnot. So that's one. I mean, obviously we can go into more detail and look at the numbers for specific companies, but something I really want you to think about on how much can you raise your price? And if you do, where's your break even? Because how many customers may you lose? And you want to look at those things, but it's really an effective way to look at things. Because a lot of times, I have a friend that's a business coach as well. And he always says, it's as easy or hard to sell $1,000 product as it is $100 product. But with $100 product, you've got to sell a heck of a lot more of them. So focus on the $1,000 product. So something to think about, and whether or not you need to raise your prices. Now, again, going back to what I had said earlier, is offer more value than your competition is a huge aspect in doing what your customers need. And prospects will often pay twice the price if they believe they're getting a lot more value for what they're paying. But oftentimes what you're going to see is people discounting. So just like raising pricing, discounting does the same thing in the reverse order, and it destroys your margins. So oftentimes, well, actually, let's look at a simple example of 10%. So if the example I'm going to show you, if you decrease your pricing by 10%, you offer a 10% off sale, often you've got to sell at least 50% more to break even. So I'll go through the example, but it's just like what I just showed you with the price increase. So if you're selling a widget for $100 and you're making 30% margin, you're making $30 on every widget you sell. That means your cost base is $70. If you discount it by 10%, that means you're selling it for $90 instead of $100, but your cost base is still $70. That means instead of making $30, you're making $20. So let's look at the numbers. For this business to make $1,000 in profit, selling them at $100 each, they've got to sell 33.3 widgets. But a 10% discount, now they need to sell 50 widgets to make that $1,000. So again, that's a 50% increase. So you do a 10% discount, you've got to sell 50% more product. So I hope that really makes you look at your sales and discounting policies. And there's going to be times that there's reasons that you're doing sales and stuff like that, but at least be thinking through the numbers as you're doing that. Because the other part is, it's not very often that you see a 10% discount on a sale. It's usually 20, 40%. And I was actually reading a study a while ago that said that discounting doesn't actually impact a prospect's buying decision unless the discount is 40% or more. So really, if you are discounting 10%, how much is that impacting the buying decision, or is it just a bonus to the prospect? So again, looking at that, big thing is stop discounting. And as I said, there might be reasons that you're doing it. There might be certain promotions that you're doing, or there might be specific things you've got, new inventory coming out, those sort of things that you want to clear stuff out. But really make sure you're paying attention to the numbers before you just start throwing out, let's do a 10%, 20%, 30% discount, those sort of things. Because again, looking at it, you lose the full value of every dollar that you discount. And so looking at your booklet again, the secret to generating more profits, stop discounting. So again, looking at what happens in our formulas, how these small incremental changes can actually turn out to be really big numbers in the end. Now, I want to leave a bit of time at the end here, but there's a couple more things in your book. One is licensing and franchising, and the other one is goal setting. Now, with licensing and franchising, depending on what your business is, there's a lot of times that we can really spend the time to go through these different steps. And once you have these things all in place, it gives you the opportunity to license or franchise what you're doing to someone else. We were working with the dentist that finally, after he got everything into place, he had some systems that he was able to license out to one of his associates that went out and opened his own practice. And he was able to do a licensing agreement where he used his practices, used his tools, and was able to, expand his business that way. So just something to consider. Is your business something that you can look at expansion that way rather than opening another office or another whatever it is? Is it something you can look at licensing or franchising? And obviously we can always help with those conversations if you ever need that, and we can point you in the right direction to get the right experts involved in something like that. Now, the next part, which is actually number one in your book, is goal setting. And how do you rate yourself excuse me, when you're looking at your goal setting with your company? Because I think one thing you really need to focus on is making sure that you're not only obviously goal setting for yourself and your company, but your employees as well, and getting their buy-in on what the company's doing and setting goals and having them involved in the goal setting is really a vital thing. I remember when I was in the banking industry, I was a bank manager, and we always had a time of the year where we were given, it was our goal setting time of the year. But it came down from head office that basically, here's your goals. And they were trying to make us feel like we were involved in the goal setting process, but it never was anything we did that had any impact on it. It was just dictated to us. And I think when you can get at least your top employees to start having involvement in things like your goal setting, you're going to have a lot more buy-in, and you're going to have a lot more engagement from them. And especially right now, as we're going through some tough times, there's going to be things that you need to do as we're coming out of this, that you're going to need to have your staff on board with you. And so if they can be involved and have some interactions in what you're doing, I think you're going to have a lot better results. So those two, I'd love to talk with anyone and more about those if you'd like, but I'm not going to go into detail with them here. But what I want to do now is if there are any questions that anyone wants to bring up, go ahead and take yourself off mute and we can talk about that. But again, I'm more than happy to talk offline with you about your specific situations. But my hope is that these were just some marketing ideas that maybe spurred something that you think, hey, that's something I can do in my business. I can look at making these changes. But hopefully it's something that will be able to help you as we're going through some difficult times, or even once we get through this, when things are great, that you'll be able to implement. And so some resources at jeffheggie.com. There's a number of things that we have. There's actually kind of near the beginning of when the coronavirus pandemic started, I put together a momentum training that's on there that's free. Anyone can get on. I think it's 3 videos. And it just talks about some of the mindset things that you need to do to get things going in the right direction and really have a roadmap of where your goals are. And then talking about, figuring out your goals and then figuring out what your why and your true meaning behind each goal is. So it's a free training. Anyone that wants to get on there, just go to jeffheggie.com, and it's actually right near the top. You can just enter your information and get that sent to you. We've got a number of online courses on there. Our e-learning marketing system is an incredible course. It's basically a do-it-yourself coaching program where it's a 52-week program where every week you get sent a video plus another lesson that comes out, and it'll start right from the beginning of creating your market dominating position, going through the process and getting to the end where you're into some more technical and strategic marketing ideas. So for anyone, that's a great program, from a startup to someone that's been in business a long time. Something I've seen that's been great. I've had some of my staff on it with my stone company that as they've taken it, they started to look at things more from an owner's perspective than an employee perspective. So it's been a great training tool there too. Another thing is our Inner Circle Mastermind. We have weekly calls where it involves accountability, helping one another, just kind of keeping everyone on track and dealing with each other's problems. It's been a great resource and a great networking opportunity. We've got group coaching, one-on-one coaching, and then also on jeffheggie.com, there's a free business breakthroughs ebook that you can get for free. But if anyone on the call is interested, there's one other thing I'd like to talk about is I've got some articles that I get to contribute to for the Six Figure Coach magazine. And it's about, what my articles are about is some of the strategies we've talked about today. But what they want is more specific examples and case studies, like some of the ones that I've shown you today. So if anyone would like to have their business looked at in more detail, I'd be happy to do that at no cost, to go through. We've got our market acceleration software that we run things through and help you work out some strategies and things like that. It'd be no cost, but what I would ask is that I can use your situation as a case study. We can, or we don't have to use names or anything, just numbers and industry is really what we're looking at. So anyone that would like to have the opportunity to have their business run through our acceleration software and see what the numbers look like, see where some of the areas are that we could focus on, I'd be happy to do that. Just contact me at jeff@jeffheggie.com. And we can talk about that, because I'd be happy to do that. We just do it over a Zoom meeting just like this, and we can do a screen share, and I can run the software and you can see the impact some of these things could have on your numbers. And I'll send this out in an email as well, but there's actually a link that we can actually set up a opportunity to have those, and it's a 60-minute one-on-one Zoom meeting, and we can go through that process. But I'll send that link out as well, so you don't have to worry about grabbing that there. And then again, the other thing I'll send out is a feedback form. If you'd like to add some feedback, if this was valuable, hopefully it was. Hopefully this gives you some ideas that you can implement as we go through this next little while, that things that'll be able to help benefit you and your business. So thank you. I know we went through that really quick. I didn't spend very much time on any one specific topic, but hopefully it gave you some ideas. And again, please reach out if you have any questions or thoughts, or if you'd like to go through and talk about any of this. Now, let me just take it off the screen share, because I see we do have a, bear with me one second. All right. Well, thanks, Tracy. Appreciate that. I just reading your comment there. Appreciate that. And yeah, happy to help any other way I can, but hopefully these are things that are going to help you guys out. So thanks again for being on the call, and reach out anytime. Have a great day.